The plasma bolt seared past Maya Chen's shoulder, leaving a smoking crater in the library wall behind her. She didn't flinch. Around her, alien students screamed and scattered as emergency lights bathed the Galactic Academy in crimson. The Zephyrian assassins had found her. "Target acquired," hissed the lead hunter, its serpentine form coiling through the doorway. "The human female matches the description." Maya closed her book with deliberate calm. Xenobiology, predator species analysis. How fitting. She'd been reading about Zephyrian hunting patterns for 3 hours, memorizing their weaknesses while everyone assumed she was just another quiet exchange student. "You have the wrong person," she said softly, standing with fluid grace. "I'm nobody special." The assassin's thermal vision swept her form, small, weak, perfect camouflage. Its translation device crackled. "Queen Valeria sends her regards before your execution." Students still trapped in the library pressed against the walls, trembling. Maya counted them quickly. 17 civilians, 3 exits blocked, 4 Zephyrian killers armed with military-grade weapons. The Academy's security forces wouldn't arrive for another 6 minutes. These aliens would be dead in 3. "Queen Valeria," Maya repeated thoughtfully. "The Butcher of Proxima Station killed 40,000 civilians to claim that mining world." She tilted her head. "Tactically brilliant, morally bankrupt. I've studied her campaigns." "You study death?" The second assassin laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Then you know fear. I know efficiency." Maya's hand drifted toward her backpack. "Your species relies on ambush tactics and venom-coated claws. Excellent in close quarters. Vulnerable to rapid temperature changes. Native to a high-gravity world, so you're stronger but less agile here." The lead assassin's eyes narrowed. "Academic knowledge won't save you, human." "No," Maya agreed, "but practical experience will." She moved. The thermal grenade from her pack rolled across the floor, erupting in a burst of superheated gas. The Zephyrians shrieked as their cold-blooded systems went into shock. Maya vaulted over a study table, her small frame a blur between the towering aliens. The first assassin swung its claws where she'd been standing. She was already behind it, fingers finding the pressure pointer xenobiology textbook had mapped in detail. The creature collapsed, nervous system temporarily paralyzed. "Impossible!" the second assassin snarled, raising its weapon. "You're just a student!" Maya's throwing knife buried itself in the alien's weapon hand before it could fire. She'd pulled the blade from her boot in a motion so smooth none of the terrified students had seen it coming. "I am a student," she said, dodging between computer terminals as plasma bolts lit up the air around her. "I study wars. I study deaths. I study everything your queen has done." The third assassin tried to flank her, moving with predatory grace. Maya anticipated the maneuver, having read about pack hunting tactics for hours. She dropped to the floor, sweeping the alien's legs with a perfectly timed kick. As it fell, she relieved it of its sidearm in one fluid motion. "You're no ordinary human," gasped the fourth assassin, backing toward the exit. "No," Maya said, standing amid the unconscious forms of its companions. "I'm something much worse than that." She checked the alien weapon's charge, familiarizing herself with its operation in seconds. "I'm the human your queen was smart enough to be afraid of." The surviving assassin activated its emergency beacon. "Reinforcement protocol." Target confirmed. Maya's shot took out its vocal cords before it could finish the transmission. Silence fell over the library like a curtain. The trapped students stared at the small girl who'd just dismantled 4 professional killers with academic precision. Maya calmly retrieved her knife, cleaned it on the lead assassin's clothing, and returned it to her boot. "Medical kits are in the emergency lockers," she told the students. "These assassins will recover consciousness in approximately 20 minutes. I suggest you notify security before then." Who are you?" whispered a Centauri exchange student. Maya shouldered her backpack, checking her schedule pad. "Maya Chen, second-year student. I have advanced stellar cartography in 10 minutes. She paused at the doorway. Oh, and if anyone asks about the thermal grenade, I was researching mining equipment for a geology project. She walked calmly into the corridor, leaving behind 17 witnesses who would never again assume they knew what quiet meant. Behind her, the paralyzed Zephyrians began to twitch as feeling returned to their limbs. None of them realized the most dangerous predator at Galactic Academy had just left the room. The emergency beacon's signal reached Queen Valeria's flagship within the hour. When she learned that her most elite assassins had been defeated by a human, barely out of adolescence, the Zephyrian queen began to truly understand the threat humanity posed to her expanding empire. Maya Chen continued attending classes, taking notes, and reading in the library. But now she researched with a different purpose. She was no longer learning about predators. She was learning how to hunt them. The Zephyrian fleet commander's hands shook as he delivered the tactical report to Queen Valeria. 3 assassination attempts in 2 days. 7 of their best killers, dead or missing. The human girl had vanished from the Academy's sensors completely. Impossible! Valeria hissed. Her serpentine form coiled around the command throne. She's one small human. Find her. Your Majesty, our thermal tracking shows she never left the campus. But Commander Thex paused. She's become invisible to our sensors. The truth was simpler than either alien could imagine. Maya Chen sat in advanced xenobiology, taking notes on Zephyrian reproductive cycles while the professor lectured about biological vulnerabilities. Her notebook contained detailed sketches of alien anatomy alongside equations for explosive yields. Miss Chen, Professor Kane called, can you tell us about Zephyria defensive adaptations? Certainly. Maya stood gracefully, her voice carrying the same soft tone that had fooled the assassins. They evolved on a high-gravity world with extreme temperature variations. Their scales provide excellent protection against physical trauma but become brittle when subjected to rapid thermal shifts. Their nervous system is remarkably efficient, but relies on consistent electrical conductivity, easily disrupted by electromagnetic pulses. The 3 Zephyrian students in the class shifted uncomfortably. They'd heard about the library incident but hadn't connected it to the quiet human who always sat in the back row. Excellent analysis, Professor Kane approved. What about their psychological profiles? Apex predators with strong hierarchical instincts, Maya continued. They respond to authority but panic when their command structure is compromised. Their hunting tactics rely on overwhelming force applied to perceived weak targets. When that fails, they tend to retreat rather than adapt. After class, Maya walked to the materials laboratory. Her academic credentials granted access to molecular printers and chemical synthesis equipment. Students often use these resources for legitimate research projects. Maya was designing a weapon. The electromagnetic pulse generator required copper wire, rare earth magnets, and a quantum battery cell, all available through standard academic supply requests. The shaped charges needed industrial-grade explosives, but mining students regularly ordered similar materials for legitimate excavation studies. Working late again? Dr. Yala, the lab supervisor, found Maya alone among the humming machines at midnight. Geological survey project, Maya replied, not looking up from her calculations, analyzing mineral extraction techniques for asteroid mining. What she'd actually designed would level half the Academy's east wing while leaving the rest of the structure intact. Precise, surgical, exactly what the textbooks said humans excelled at, turning limited resources into devastating effectiveness. Yala examined Maya's work. The mathematical precision was impressive, if somewhat theoretical. Remarkable efficiency calculations, though I hope you're not planning any practical applications. Just theoretical models, Maya assured her. I find hypothetical scenarios fascinating. The lab supervisor left, unaware that the quiet human student had just solved the tactical problem of eliminating an entire Zephyrian strike force while minimizing civilian casualties. Maya's communicator chimed softly, an encrypted message from an unknown sender. She activated the privacy shield around her workstation before opening it. Ms. Chen, we need to talk. Maintenance level 7. Come alone. The message was unsigned, but the encryption signature carried Human Alliance military protocols. Maya gathered her materials, wiped the computer's memory, and headed for the service corridors. The Academy's maintenance levels were restricted areas, but her student credentials had been upgraded weeks ago by someone with very high clearance. Commander Sarah Mitchell waited in the shadows, her Alliance uniform barely visible in the dim lighting. "Miss Chen, I'm impressed by your academic performance. You're not here about my grades," Maya observed. "Queen Valeria's forces are massing for a full invasion of human space. 50,000 ships, enough to burn every colony world we've established." Mitchell stepped forward. "Our intelligence suggests she's doing this because of you. Because she's afraid of one human student. Because she's afraid of what you represent. Proof that humans don't need superior weapons or overwhelming numbers to win." Mitchell paused. "We need to know, are you what we think you are?" Maya considered the question carefully. "That depends on what you think I am." "The most dangerous hunter in known space. Someone who could walk into Queen Valeria's throne room and walk out again while her empire burns behind you." "I'm just a student," Maya said softly. "So was Napoleon. So was Alexander." Mitchell handed her a secure tablet. "Valeria's fleet composition, defensive capabilities, command protocols. Everything our intelligence networks could gather." Maya accepted the device, scanning its contents with the same academic focus she applied to homework assignments. Fleet positioning, officer profiles, tactical doctrines. All of it perfectly organized for someone who understood how apex predators thought. "How long until they arrive?" she asked. 6 days, maybe 7 if we're lucky. Maya nodded thoughtfully. "More than enough time. For what? To complete my education?" Maya's smile carried no warmth. "I've learned so much about Zephyrian psychology, but I haven't had a chance for practical application." Commander Mitchell found herself stepping backward without conscious thought. Something in the girl's tone triggered every survival instinct evolution had provided. "What are you planning?" "Field study," Maya replied. "An in-depth analysis of predator-prey relationships in their natural environment." She disappeared into the shadows, leaving the Alliance officer alone with a growing certainty that Queen Valeria had made a terrible mistake. Maya Chen walked back to her dormitory room, her mind already cataloging the resources she would need. The Zephyrian Queen wanted to demonstrate the consequences of challenging her authority. Maya was about to provide a comprehensive education on why humans had become the most feared species in the galaxy. The quiet campus girl was going hunting. The stolen Zephyrian scout ship drifted silently through the outer system, its life support modified for human physiology. Maya Chen piloted the craft with casual expertise, having spent 36 hours studying its systems with the same thoroughness she once applied to final exams. Queen Valeria's flagship commanded the center of a formation that stretched across several light minutes. 50,000 vessels arranged in the precise geometric patterns Zephyrian doctrine demanded. Perfect order. Perfect predictability. Perfect vulnerability for someone who understood their psychology. Maya's approach vector took her through the fleet's sensor grid like a whisper through a thunderstorm. The scout ship's credentials were valid. She'd extracted them from the surviving assassin back at the academy, using techniques learned from her advanced interrogation psychology course. "Scout vessel Fang of Stars," crackled the communications channel. "Report for debriefing. Base 7. Acknowledged," Maya replied, her voice modulator providing perfect Zephyrian inflection. 3 days of linguistic analysis had taught her to speak like a native predator. The flagship's landing bay could have held the entire Academy campus. Maya counted weapon emplacements, guard positions, and structural weak points as her ship touched down. The Zephyrians moved with military precision, but their patterns revealed critical assumptions about threat assessment. They expected enemies to announce themselves, to fight with honor, to follow recognizable tactical doctrines. Maya carried her academic backpack through corridors lined with warriors who could have torn her apart with casual swipes of their claws. None of them perceived threat from the small figure in captured armor who walked among them with scholarly curiosity. "Identification," demanded a guard outside the command center. Maya presented credentials taken from the scout ship's databanks. "Scout Commander Sathix, reporting intelligence on human defensive capabilities." The guard's thermal vision analyzed her altered heat signature. The stolen armor's environmental systems masked her mammalian biology. Proceed. Queen Valeria awaits your report. The throne room stretched upward like a cathedral of conquest. Banners from defeated worlds hung from the ceiling. Trophies of campaigns that had left billions dead. Queen Valeria dominated the space. Her 20-foot frame coiled around a command throne carved from the bones of extinct species. Approach, Valeria commanded. Her voice carried harmonics that paralyzed prey species through evolutionary fear responses. Tell me of human weaknesses. Maya walked forward with measured steps, each footfall calculated to project confidence without aggression. The dozen advisors surrounding the throne represented the finest tactical minds in Zephyrian space, all of them focused on the small scout who carried intelligence about their next conquest. Your Majesty, Maya began, her electronic translator managing perfect formal syntax. I have studied human capabilities extensively. And what did you learn? Valeria's eyes reflected ancient hunger. How do we break their spirit completely? They are remarkably adaptable, Maya reported, but their greatest weakness is also their greatest strength. They form powerful emotional bonds that can be exploited through psychological pressure. The advisors leaned forward, eager for tactical intelligence. Maya opened her backpack, removing what appeared to be a standard data tablet. The device contained sophisticated holographic projectors and several other components that would have concerned security had they bothered to scan thoroughly. They worship their young, Maya continued, activating the tablet's display functions. Threaten human children, and adult humans will sacrifice everything to protect them. Excellent, Valeria approved. Show me their defensive positions. Maya's holographic display revealed the Alliance fleet formations around Earth and the core worlds, accurate intelligence gathered through perfectly legitimate academic research. She highlighted strategic positions, supply lines, and communication relays, while the Zephyrian High Command absorbed every detail. Their technology is inferior, an advisor observed. These formations seem almost primitive. Humans compensate through unpredictability. Maya explained, they excel at irregular tactics when conventional strategies fail. However, their emotional responses can override logical decision-making under sufficient stress. Queen Valeria studied the tactical display with predatory satisfaction. We will target their civilian populations first, force their military into defensive positions, then crush both simultaneously. A superb strategy, Maya agreed. However, I must warn you about one particular human threat. Oh? Valeria's attention sharpened. What could possibly threaten this fleet? There are rumors of a human operative, someone with extensive knowledge of alien psychology and tactics. Intelligence suggests this individual has studied our species in detail. The advisors exchanged concerned glances. The assassination failures at the Academy had become notorious throughout their intelligence networks. What do you know about this operative? Valeria demanded. Maya paused thoughtfully, projecting perfect scholarly uncertainty. Very little concrete information. But analysis suggests this human understands our weaknesses better than we understand theirs. Impossible, General Kraft snorted. No human could comprehend superior Zephyrian tactics. Perhaps, Maya conceded, but theoretical models suggest such an individual could cause significant disruption through targeted psychological warfare. She input new calculations into her tablet, displaying probability matrices that showed cascade failure scenarios rippling through fleet command structures. The math was elegant, terrifying, and completely accurate. These projections assume an enemy who understands our hierarchical protocols intimately, Maya explained. Someone capable of exploiting our instinctive responses to authority challenges. Queen Valeria's tail lashed with agitation. What would you recommend? Heightened security protocols, verification of all personnel, assumption that the enemy has infiltrated our command networks. Maya looked directly at the Queen. Trust no one who claims to understand human capabilities too well. The irony was lost on every Zephyrian in the room. They were receiving tactical advice from the exact threat they needed to identify, delivered by someone whose academic credentials were better than most of their intelligence officers. Implement these recommendations immediately, Valeria ordered. I want absolute verification of every individual with access to sensitive operations. Of course, Your Majesty. Maya bowed with appropriate military courtesy. However, I should mention one additional concern. Our intelligence suggests this human operative specializes in close-quarters assassination, someone capable of striking at the heart of our command structure. The advisors began examining each other with newfound suspicion, exactly what Maya had intended. "Thank you for this intelligence," Queen Valeria said. "You are dismissed." Maya retreated from the throne room, leaving behind a command structure primed to tear itself apart through paranoid security measures. Phase 1 complete. She had 6 hours until her real work began. Maya Chen ghosted through the flagship's maintenance corridors with the patience her professors had always praised. 3 hours of observation had mapped guard rotations, security protocols, and the behavioral patterns that would determine whether 50,000 human beings lived or died. The Zephyrian crew followed schedules with military precision, but their psychology created blind spots no human strategist would tolerate. Apex predators, she'd learned, were remarkably bad at watching their own backs. Her first target stood 20 meters away, Lieutenant Thax, communications officer for the fleet's coordination network. The alien worked alone during the night shift, monitoring transmissions between capital ships. Perfect isolation for what Maya needed to accomplish. She moved through the ventilation system with careful silence, counting heartbeats and calculating angles. The thermal dampener from her modified armor masked her approach, while her academic knowledge of Zephyrian anatomy identified the precise pressure points that would render Thax unconscious without permanent injury. Maya dropped from the ceiling vent like a shadow made flesh. Her fingers found the nerve cluster at the base of Thax's skull. Before the alien could turn around, the creature collapsed across its control console, alive but helpless. "Sorry," Maya whispered, genuinely apologetic. "This is educational, not personal." She accessed Thax's terminals with credentials extracted during her reconnaissance. The communication networks that coordinated 50,000 ships required sophisticated encryption, but Maya had studied information theory alongside her xenobiology courses. Code-breaking was just another academic discipline. 20 minutes of careful work inserted modified command protocols throughout the fleet's data networks, subtle alterations that would activate when specific psychological triggers were met. Maya smiled as she worked, remembering late nights in the Academy library researching Zephyrian cognitive responses to authority challenges. Her professors would be proud of how thoroughly she'd applied their lessons. The second target required more complex preparation. General Croft commanded the siege engines that could crack planetary shields like eggshells. His personal quarters were protected by multiple security layers and a pair of elite guards who never left their posts simultaneously. Maya approached through the ship's power distribution network, following conduits that carried the massive energy flows required for faster-than-light travel. Heat and radiation that would instantly kill most organic life provided perfect concealment for someone wearing properly modified armor. She emerged through an access panel directly into Kraft's private armory. Weapons hung from the walls like trophies, artifacts from conquered worlds that demonstrated the general's appreciation for superior firepower. Maya selected a Terran pulse rifle from his collection, checking its charge with professional interest. Earth manufactured, probably taken from dead Alliance Marines during some forgotten border skirmish. Ironic, she murmured, configuring the weapon for maximum psychological impact rather than lethal force. General Kraft returned to his quarters following the same routine Maya had observed for 3 consecutive nights. Shower, tactical review, equipment maintenance, sleep. Predictable schedules were another weakness evolution had built into apex predator psychology. Maya waited until he was halfway through reviewing fleet positions before stepping from the shadows. "General Kraft," she said calmly. The alien spun with combat reflexes honed through decades of warfare. His hand reached for the personal sidearm that wasn't there. She'd removed it from his equipment belt during his shower. "Who dares?" Kraft began. "The human operative your queen warned you about," Maya interrupted. She held the pulse rifle with casual competence, its barrel pointed at his center mass. "The one who supposedly understands your tactics better than you understand ours." Confusion and rage warred across the general's reptilian features. Impossible. Security verified every individual aboard this ship. Your security verified their own assumptions, Maya corrected gently. I'm exactly who I claim to be. A student gathering intelligence on predator species. She paused. I just never mentioned which species I was studying. Kraft's training took control, overriding shock through pure military discipline. You cannot escape. Kill me and 10,000 guards will hunt you through every corridor. I don't intend to kill you, Maya assured him. That would be educationally wasteful. She activated her tablet with her free hand, displaying the tactical modifications she'd inserted throughout the fleet's command networks. I intend to teach you something about human psychology. The general studied her display, his tactical mind grasping the implications with growing horror. These modifications, they'll cascade through our entire command structure if triggered. Correct. Your species responds to hierarchical challenges through predictable aggression patterns. Threaten one ship captain's authority and neighboring commanders will automatically assert dominance through increasingly competitive displays. Maya's smile held no malice, only academic satisfaction. The mathematics are elegant. You would destroy 50,000 ships to save your own species? I would prevent 50,000 ships from committing genocide against mine, Maya corrected. There's an important psychological distinction. She backed toward the ventilation system. Your queen wanted to study human weaknesses. I thought she might benefit from understanding human strengths instead. General Kraft watched helplessly as the quiet student who'd infiltrated their most secure vessel disappeared back into the shadows. Around him, his personal communicator began receiving status reports from across the fleet. Ship commanders arguing over minor tactical decisions. Officers challenging each other's competence. Authority structures beginning to fracture along the exact psychological fault lines Maya Chen had mapped in her anthropology textbooks. The Zephyrian Empire was about to learn what happened when apex predators encountered an even more dangerous hunter. Maya reached her stolen scout ship as the first disciplinary conflicts erupted throughout the fleet. She'd planted seeds of paranoia and competition that would grow into chaos within hours, fed by the same hierarchical instincts that made Zephyrians such effective conquerors. Phase 2 complete. Time for the final lesson. The emergency beacon screaming from Lieutenant Dax's communications station triggered every security protocol Queen Valeria had implemented. Alert sirens wailed through the flagship's corridors while search teams flooded every deck, compartment, and maintenance tube. Too late. Maya Chen was already 3 kilometers away, watching through her scout ship's passive sensors as the most powerful fleet in Zephyrian history began to tear itself apart. All ships maintain formation. Valeria's voice thundered across fleet communications. Report any suspicious activities immediately. Maya monitored the channels with academic interest, taking notes on the psychological cascade she'd engineered. Ship captains reported minor disputes with increasing frequency. Officers challenged each other's decisions in tones that grew progressively more aggressive. The modifications she'd inserted into their command networks amplified every territorial instinct evolution had bred into their species. Captain Zeph to flagship, crackled one transmission. The Savage Wind is taking unauthorized positional adjustments. Recommend disciplinary action. Captain Voss to fleet command, another voice interjected. Zeeth's vessel is clearly attempting to claim prime assault positioning without proper authorization. This cannot be tolerated. Maya smiled, remembering Professor Kane's lectures on dominance hierarchies among predator species. But Zephyrians maintain social order through carefully balanced displays of power. Disrupt that balance, and their civilization devolved into chaos, with remarkable efficiency. Enough! Queen Valeria's voice cut through the competing complaints. I want complete silence until the human infiltrator is captured. Perfect. Maya activated the final sequence. Her tablet connected to the fleet's communication network through backdoor protocols she'd established during her chess match with General Kraft. Every ship received simultaneous command packages that appeared to originate from Queen Valeria herself, each one contradicting the others in subtle but critically important ways. Attack Formation 7 Alpha. Read one message. Flagship assumes vanguard position. Defensive Posture 12, stated another. All vessels maintain current spacing. Flagship withdrawal to secondary command position, declared a third. Captain Zeth assumes tactical command pending Queen's return. Maya had studied Zephyrian military doctrine extensively enough to understand which orders would create maximum psychological stress amongst competing commanders. Each message carried proper authentication codes and appeared perfectly legitimate to their security systems. The response was immediate and spectacular. "Orders received, Your Majesty," Captain Zeth announced, his vessel accelerating toward flagship position, assuming command authority as directed. "Belay that," Captain Voss snarled. "My ship received priority authorization. Savage Wind maintains formation. Parasynthoids hold current positions. All vessels hold current positions. Admiral Cross commanded from the heavy cruiser Bone Render. I'm detecting forged communications. Possible infiltration of command networks." Queen Valeria's roar of fury echoed across 50,000 ships. "All units beacon verification Alpha 7. Immediate response required. But Maya's psychological warfare had already achieved critical mass. Ship commanders who'd spent their entire careers competing for status within rigid hierarchical structures suddenly faced contradictory orders from absolute authority. Their responses followed patterns any student of animal behavior could have predicted. They fought. Captain Zeth's destroyer fired warning shots across the bow of Voss's cruiser. Voss responded with target lock warnings. Admiral Cross moved his ships to intercept both vessels, which triggered automated defensive responses from 6 other captains who interpreted his maneuvers as territorial challenges. "Stand down immediately," Valeria commanded, but her authority was compromised by the competing messages apparently issued under her own signature. How could she maintain control while simultaneously appearing to have lost it? Maya watched the tactical display with professional satisfaction. Psychology textbook case study in progress. What happened when apex predators' dominance hierarchies collapsed under artificially induced stress? "Fleet command to all vessels," General Kraft's voice attempted to restore order. "Disregard previous communications. Maintain defensive formations pending investigation. General Kraft is compromised," Admiral Cross announced immediately. His quarters were infiltrated by the human operative. "Bone Render assumes fleet command." "Negative," Captain Zeth responded. "My authorization came directly from Queen Valeria's personal terminals, defending flagship priority. The domino effect Maya had engineered required no further intervention. 50,000 ships began choosing sides in a conflict that existed only because their psychology made it impossible to ignore. Port flank squadrons moved to support Admiral Cross's claim to command authority. Starboard formations rallied behind Captain Zeth's interpretation of royal orders. Center vessels attempted to defend Queen Valeria's flagship from threats that materialized only because they expected them to exist. Maya activated her final surprise, the one she'd prepared while pretending to brief Valeria's advisors on human weaknesses. "Attention, Zephyrian Fleet," she broadcast on all channels, her voice carrying perfect translation algorithms. "This is Maya Chen, student at Galactic Academy, currently enrolled in advanced xenobiology and military history." Stunned silence answered her transmission. "I want you to understand what just happened," Maya continued with the same calm tone she'd used to answer questions in Professor Kane's classroom. "You came here to demonstrate superior Zephyrian tactics against allegedly inferior human intelligence. Instead, you've just learned what humans actually excel at, turning an enemy's strengths into vulnerabilities through applied psychology." She paused, checking her tactical display. The Zephyrian fleet was still fragmenting into competing factions, their formation integrity collapsing under hierarchical conflicts she'd engineered through academic research. "Every ship in your fleet received contradictory orders that exploit your species' hardwired responses to authority challenges. Your commanders are fighting each other because their evolutionary psychology makes cooperation impossible under competitive stress. This isn't superior alien tactics, it's basic animal behavior manipulation." Queen Valeria's voice cut through the channel static. "Impossible. You're one human child. I'm one human student who spent 3 months studying your species' cognitive patterns," Maya corrected. "Your invasion failed because you assumed intelligence meant technology, when it actually means understanding your enemy better than they understand themselves." She transmitted her academic research files to the entire fleet, detailed psychological profiles, tactical assessments, and behavioral predictions that demonstrated exactly how thoroughly one quiet campus girl had dissected their civilization's fundamental weaknesses. Your queen is welcome to study human tactical capabilities, Maya concluded. I recommend starting with our educational system. You'll find we teach our children to think several steps ahead of apex predators. Maya set course for the academy, leaving behind 50,000 ships whose crews were learning the difference between being dangerous and being smart. The lesson would be remembered across Zephyrian space for generations. Maya Chen's scout ship touched down at Galactic Academy just as Professor Kane's advanced xenobiology class was beginning morning session. She walked across campus with the same quiet steps that had carried her through Zephyrian corridors, her backpack slung over one shoulder and homework assignments awaiting completion. "Miss Chen," Professor Kane called as she slipped through the classroom door. "I trust your research project on predator psychology is progressing well?" "Better than expected," Maya replied, taking her usual seat in the back row. "I discovered some fascinating behavioral patterns in hierarchical species. The 3 Zephyrian exchange students who'd managed to attend class despite the chaos consuming their home fleet shifted uncomfortably. News of the invasion force's catastrophic self-destruction had reached the academy through official channels, but details remained classified." Maya opened her notebook, preparing to continue her education. Today's lecture topic was psychological warfare in interspecies conflicts. Remarkably appropriate timing. Can anyone provide examples of successful psychological operations in military history? Professor Kane asked. Maya raised her hand with scholarly enthusiasm. The Terran's Second World War provides excellent case studies. Human forces frequently use deception and misdirection to turn enemy strengths into liabilities. Elaborate, please. Maya stood gracefully, consulting her notes with academic precision. Operation Mincemeat convinced German forces to redeploy significant resources based on false intelligence. Operation Fortitude created fictitious army divisions that drew enemy attention from actual invasion sites. Both campaigns succeeded through understanding enemy psychology rather than superior firepower. Professor Kane nodded approvingly. Excellent analysis. What contemporary applications might these principles have? Hypothetically? Maya's smile carried innocent curiosity. Any species that relies heavily on hierarchical authority structures would be vulnerable to carefully crafted disinformation campaigns. Introduce conflicting orders during high-stress situations, and their command networks might fragment through predictable psychological responses. The Zephyrian students exchanged meaningful glances. One of them, Commander Thex's nephew, had received disturbing reports from his family's military connections. Something about human infiltration and massive command failures throughout the invasion fleet. Theoretical applications only, I assume? Professor Kane prompted. Of course, Maya assured him, though it would be fascinating to observe such tactics in actual military scenarios. The psychological effects would make compelling research material. Her tablet chimed softly with an incoming message. Commander Mitchell's encrypted signal contained congratulations alongside new intelligence requirements. Queen Valeria had recalled her entire fleet to Zephyrian space, abandoning invasion plans while conducting massive security reviews. Other hostile species were reconsidering their assessment of human defensive capabilities. Maya deleted the message and returned attention to her lecture notes. Class continued with discussions of historical conflicts, theoretical scenarios, and practical applications of psychological warfare principles. Maya contributed thoughtful observations while completing her assignment on cognitive vulnerabilities in apex predator species, a paper that would earn full marks for its detailed analysis and extensive field research. Don't forget, Professor Kane announced as students gathered their materials, final projects are due next week. I'm looking forward to reviewing your original research. Maya packed her notebooks carefully, already planning her next academic pursuit. The university catalog listed fascinating courses on political science, economics, and diplomatic relations. So many species to study, so many psychological patterns to analyze. Miss Chen, the youngest Zephyrian student, approached hesitantly. My cousin serves in our home fleet. Communication has been irregular since yesterday. Maya looked up from organizing her backpack with genuine concern. That sounds worrying. I hope everything works out well for your family. There are rumors about human infiltration of our command networks, psychological warfare that turned our own officers against each other. The alien's voice carried confusion and fear. Do you think such tactics are possible? Anything's possible with sufficient preparation and understanding, Maya replied thoughtfully, though it would require someone with extensive knowledge of Zephyrian psychology. Military history suggests humans excel at unconventional problem-solving when conventional methods prove inadequate. She shouldered her pack and walked toward the door, pausing to address her classmate's worried expression. But I'm sure your cousin is fine. Zephyrian military training emphasizes hierarchical stability and clear command structures. Any psychological operation would need to exploit very specific cognitive vulnerabilities to achieve meaningful disruption. Maya smiled reassuringly. What are the odds of finding a human who understands your species that thoroughly? The student watched her leave, struggling with the growing certainty that he'd just met the most dangerous individual in the known galaxy. Maya Chen walked across campus toward the library where advanced texts on economic warfare and political manipulation awaited her attention. Queen Valeria's defeat had been educational, but the universe contained so many other apex predators who might benefit from comprehensive study. Behind her, emergency transmissions continued, reaching Zephyrian students as their empire struggled to comprehend how thoroughly one quiet human had dismantled 50,000 years of military doctrine. Maya hummed softly as she climbed the library steps, already planning her next semester's course schedule. Learning was such a wonderful thing, especially when properly applied.